Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla. Watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our detailed breakdown of the new HJC RPHA 70 ST, available at RevZilla.com. This is the new RPHA 70 ST. HJC is dropping it on us for the fall of 2017. If we look at it, it's kind of badass. It's kind of aggressive. It is an evolution of the RPHA ST, which I have on this side of the helmet, which we loved in 2014 when it came out. But at this stage of the game, RPHA ST, your grandmother's pearls. And at this stage of the game, the RPHA 70 ST is kind of the venom to the sport touring mix. Now we look at it just as a base level, and I wish I had a matte black to do matte black to matte black today. It is a much narrower shell. 3 shells, 6 intakes, 2 exhausts. But if we look at it, they've just refined and made it much more aggressive. Now I will tell you, it's still a premium. It's the advanced integrated matrix composite they have from HJC, so it's the top of the line. It's ultimately that RPHA 11 Pro, same composite they're using on the racetrack. Now, what they've done with this helmet, though, is they've increased the ventilation, made it more aggressive, made it more narrow. In our estimation, it's competing much more heads up at this stage of the game with something like the GT Air from Shoei. You still have your drop-down sun visor, but the beauty of it, and there's my sun visor mechanism, which has now moved, is they're now DOT and ECE rated, where this helmet was DOT rated only. And what I like about that is that you're taking a helmet, you're increasing the safety rating, it's still organized for upright or 3/4 riding. It looks that much more aggressive, but it only gained a few ounces. Now, HJC they said, listen, this helmet is the same weight, if not, we've made it lighter. And we put it on the scale and we said that's lies. So what that means to us is the European homologation, which does not carry a DOT, probably is the same or lighter. For the US, you're going to 3 pounds 4 ounces to 3 pounds 6. Now for a sport touring helmet with a drop-down sun visor, DOT ECE rated, that now has emergency cheek pads and really has added all the things, including the extra vents I'm gonna tell you about, we're looking at this helmet and saying it's a huge win. They've only added 2 ounces. I will tell you that it's gone up 40 bucks. It doesn't really scare us. It's still a helmet coming in sub $400. And ultimately, there's not a lot that we can pick apart because HJC, as they've done for the last couple of years, has kind of blown us away as soon as they launched RPHA, as they've continued to iterate and they've continued to really bring things to the next level. I know that sounds vague, but when I walk through the full helmet, you're gonna see that. I mean, even simple things like the shape, the fact that they have a new positive action open and close on these vents in the back. It's now 3 position on the top vent, open, halfway, and closed. And even the back actuated vents or non-actuated vents are going to be fully pass-through and positive, so they're actually extracting air, whereas your RPHA ST had them for looks. They looked great, but they were not fully featured. So ultimately, not a full overhaul, really an iteration, but enough has changed that we look at this through the lens of a new helmet that really staying within the standards of what we expect these days from HJC, but ultimately still not over 400 bucks, now carrying an ECE rating, really optimized for multi-season sport touring, commuting, sport riding without breaking the bank. Big fans of it. So ultimately, let's talk about fit. The fit has not changed. It's still intermediate oval in its head shape, which should work for most riders. A little bit longer front to back. It's not overly round, not overly narrow. They've updated the interior guts. It's going to be antimicrobial. It's now the multi-cool system, again, which has a cooling property to it. But again, premium guts, now with an emergency cheek pad removal system. It's not overly race fit. It's going to be more of a touring contour, but ultimately the fit won't surprise you. For most of the American market, this should fit spot on. Use a size chart. We'll ship for free over 39 bucks. And ultimately, I'd love it if you click our logo, subscribe to us, RevZilla, on our YouTube channel. Leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback on the new RPHA 70 ST. If we think about some of the other features, remember, fiberglass composite, now with a lower profile, more aerodynamic. The airflow has been improved, and they've changed and added vents. So we look at the venting scheme. We're going to start bottom to top. Firstly, we have a new vent at the bottom that's actuated on the inside. This vent didn't do a whole lot for us, but ultimately this is really if you're in the upright riding position and depending on how your motorcycle has a windshield and the configuration, you may or may not get that airflow. We do find this vent right here flows a ton of air. It's relatively been unchanged. And now we have a top vent and scoop, which has become more dramatic. Again, 3 position, open, closed, and a halfway point, dramatically flowing air. And that was one of the big themes when we saw the RPHA 11 Pro come out. One of the best venting helmets we've ever seen. You're getting some of that ventilated DNA now making its way into the RPHA ST or the RPHA 70 ST series. Ultimately, much more dramatic looking, much more narrow. If we turn both helmets backwards, you're going to see the fact that we had these big flares before, which really an overly wide helmet. And on the 70 ST, now we have them open and closable. And as you work your way down, you have these big vertical vents, which are full extractors. On this helmet, they were very limited to non-really functioning there. So ultimately, big overhaul in your aerodynamic profile, big overhaul in your ventilation scheme. Venting is a property. I will speak to the venting side of things. We went out and we really pushed this helmet and we said, okay, when you're adding that much airflow, one, are you gonna feel it that much more, which we did, and two, is the helmet gonna become annoyingly noisy at that point with just so much air moving through it. And we felt that the ear pockets were compartmentalized enough, separated from the vents to where you can open everything and it wasn't annoyingly loud, which was a really nice feature. Other things to note. Center control locking here. This is the new HJ26 shield. This was the HJ20 ST shield. Still pin lock in the box, comes pin lock ready. Still very simple to remove. Watch, I put it up, I go to the side, I pop it like that, it comes right off to put it back on. Very, very simple. But the difference in these shields, and I can show them left to right next to each other, this shield is much flatter than this shield. And when you go with a flatter shield configuration, you get less distortion. So again, making improvements across the board on these super strong, super premium shields, again, that HJC is using. If I think about the external side of this helmet, we've talked about profile, we've talked about venting, we've talked about the weight, again, the premium composites it's using. The last thing I'm going to delve into before we flip it on its side and completely deconstruct it is, on the previous version, you had a lever actuation on the side. Now you have a jawline actuation, which is done with a cable, which is smoother, more positive, goes up, goes down more cleanly. It's more of a premium approach to it. So again, just taking that RPHA ST and taking the 70 ST and making it that much better. Refinements, listening to their customers, and improving along the way. We flip it upside down. The reflective is new. This rubberized material that allows it to not slide off your seat if you put it on your bike is new. Emergency cheek pad removal system. If I put my finger in, it should come out very simply. It just did. That's how, if you're knocked out cold, the EMT saves your neck if you happen to have a cervical vertebrae issue they don't know about. They get these cheek pads off and they slide the helmet off the crown of your head versus wrangling it when you're out cold. Again, very important. Notice the way this is constructed. Notice this is the multi-cooled material. The other thing that's great about it is notice how thin this area is right here. This would be along the temple. That is optimized for sunglasses or eyeglasses, depending on how you like to ride. Again, that's something that Shark's done really well for years. It's nice to see HJC adopting that feature, which makes it a little easier if you're cramming in eyeglasses of any type. I'm going to do the other side with its normal snaps. Notice that was non-emergency removal. I feel bad, Buzzsaw or Pat, you guys are going to have to put the emergency back in and pull those snaps out. Sometimes it's a pain to reconstruct. We do have a removable chin spoiler here, and you can see up behind it, there's the actuation for that front vent. It's done in gray, so you can find it easily. If I work my way down here, notice two little baby snaps below the occipital ridge, and then working my way to the front, it is a brow connection. And this brow connection ensures you're never getting a forehead pressure point because it's plastic on plastic. And notice the 3D construction, multiple layers, multiple densities of foam. Again, flowing a ton of air channeling through on the top and the sides of the helmet. But again, staying out of the way, making itself really non-existent from a pressure point standpoint, which is huge. Now, if I work my way into the helmet, you're going to see that we do have these ear pockets that can be removed here. These are covering up holes that ultimately will take, here, I gotta pull that out without ruining it. There we go. Notice that is a hole, that is a flap that Velcros on and covers the speaker pocket. So you can add a third-party comm unit to this helmet in that speaker pocket. When you're not using it, put the flap over, it's gonna add quiet to the helmet. One of the reasons this helmet's a little bit more quiet. And then we look at the channeling. Lots of vents, great ventilation scheme, not overly loud. HJC's done a great job of improving things by adding better looking and more aggressive, larger scoops and adding additional exits. Really, you have two on the back that are positive, two that are passive, but they both flow air with 6 total inputs in the helmet. So again, when we look at it, it went up 40 bucks. It went up 2 ounces. I kind of don't care about either of those things. The helmet, relatively speaking, for where it plays in the market, is still underpriced. They could charge more for it. They're not. They're doing you a favor. I don't care about 2 ounces when you go to 3 pounds 4 to 3 pounds 6. I don't care. That's still an extremely light helmet under the 3 pound 8 ounce mark. And ultimately, if we think about the rest of the helmet, they've just executed well, improved many, many things, and I don't have gripes. Really, the only thing that was a real gripe is sometimes you're not really getting the benefit out of this bottom vent, depending on how you ride, but it looks really badass, and I don't really care because ultimately the helmet is really a nice iteration forward. The next step in your journey is to click the info button, your desktop, your mobile device. Visit the product detail page at RevZilla.com. Read other rider reviews. You shouldn't just take my word for it. As always, we'll ship for over 39 bucks. If you want to talk to a gear geek, see us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our detailed breakdown. Remember, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Stay updated with our opinion of the latest and greatest in the motorcycle universe. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.